Okay, so this is the concluding video of the introductory portion of the class. I want to finish by talking about two things. Uh, First, let's talk about just some terminology. Uh, the field that this class is based on, it has a lot of different names. The name we prefer and the name we call our department is behavioral neuroscience. But this is okay. Physiological psychologists, biological psychology, biopsychology, psychobiology, these are all fine. But I wanted to talk about three that are not okay. One, neuro. Boy, that's not working. The first term that's not good is neurology. This is a field of medicine. That means you have to go to medical school and get an MD. These people diagnose and treat disorders of the nervous system medically with drugs. See, in this country, to prescribe drugs, you have to go to medical school. Either become a medical doctor, doctor of osteopathy, uh, doctor of dental sciences. Who else can prescribe? MD, DO, DDS. I think uh, there are some PharmDs that can prescribe, but I'm not sure about that. Okay, the second term that's not good, and this one you guys I think will know, psychiatry. Again, these go to medical school and diagnose and treat disorders of mental illness. Finally, term that sounds right but isn't is neuropsychology. For this, you get a PhD in clinical psych. These are the people who do diagnostics and testing for things like learning disabilities, developmental issues. In athletics, if you got a concussion, uh, you would have to get cleared by a neuropsychologist or a neurologist. But often the neuropsychologist does a bunch of testing to help inform the decisions. The last topic, uh, before we move on to chapter 2, or I should say the next unit, is the issue of animal research. Now, animal research is absolutely necessary, especially for neuroscience. If we're going to do the kind of studies that we've been doing, you cannot do it without animals. Now, there are plenty of neuroscientists who never work with animals, but I'm saying the work of neuroscience couldn't really propel forward without tons of animal research. This is a complicated issue. It's one of those issues where I highly encourage you, if you have a super strong opinion on it, think on it longer, because both sides are extremely problematic. On the one hand, if you're opposed to animal research, you have to really think about the kind of world you're asking for. It's the kind of world with no more vaccines, no more medicines, no more new surgical, much slower surgical advancements, and absolute collapse of our healthcare. If you're absolutely for animal research, I encourage you to investigate the realities of animal research because they're extremely brutal. Whether we're addicting animals to drugs, breaking their bones, injuring their brains, or damaging their heart, or implanting cancer, or inbreeding, creating lines of animals that are doomed to develop tumors. We do horrible things, horrible things. So, again, this is an extremely complicated issue. If you have a super strong opinion, do a little bit more research, and I think you'll see that this is just an absolute tough one. Now, society has decided that we are going to continue doing animal research, but with guidelines. There's going to be appropriate animal care, which doesn't really mean much of anything because I'll tell you, with each of these steps that we take, there are exceptions. Okay, so appropriate animal care, unless your study is such that you want to see the effect of inappropriate treatment. Okay, reduce, eliminate discomfort, unless you need to cause discomfort. Prevent infection, unless you're studying infections. I wonder how many animals are going to be used in or searched for treatments and cure against novel viruses. And we get approval by institutional boards, and there's supposed to be state and federal supervision. But the reality is still a very harsh one for these animals. And I urge us to be grateful for the countless animals that have been used and will be used for the advancement of human health.